It's March, which means it's time for our first episode of Nick Madness 2018 Character Edition. Get pumped. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Casey. Last week we did a Wild Thornberries episode, but who cares about episodes anymore? We are episode free. You won't be getting an episodes to watch graphic for a while. We are in it. We are basically have become, I'm going to put in some ESPN music right here. We have become tournament analysts here. It's not quite sports, but it's the closest thing we're going to get. We are so excited to break this down for you guys. We have a lot of thoughts about this very large bracket compared to last year.
I do want to quickly give some last credit, though, to our Twitter poll. We asked you guys which animal is better between llamas and giraffes, per Darwin's comment that llamas are just wannabe giraffes. Llamas got 43%, giraffes 57%, so it looks like giraffes do win out, but maybe not quite as much as Darwin might have thought.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and I want to break it down for about 5 minutes. Just kidding. Who cares? It's Nick Madness. Let's get moving on to this discussion, because I am so pumped. So here's the situation, guys. Your prediction brackets, which, again, self-explanatory, they're predictions, but some people sent them in last year thinking they were votes. They are not votes. They are predictions. What are they? Predictions, not votes. They are due March 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, because that is when the polls will open. We are going to be doing, let me pull up the schedule, because the first week we should explain. Basically, each week we're going to have some rounds of voting. So this week, starting March 5th, we're going to do round 1. We'll do the first 2 conferences on Monday the 5th, both starting at 12 p.m. And then on Tuesday, starting at 12 p.m., we're going to do the other side of the bracket. So by Wednesday at noon, we will know who our top 32 is. Again, this is a 64-team tournament, so we're going to be just, how tournaments work. We'll be having the amount of participants every week. We're going to start with 1 day or 24-hour polls. So these will start to go by really quickly, but we're only doing 1 round this first week. And we haven't done any rounds yet, so this is all preliminary right now. We're just going to be giving our hot takes on what we think might happen.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also a ton of matchups here, so we're obviously not going to get to them all, but we will, our overarching hot takes are sort of explanations as to why it is what it is. I think there's going to be some interesting stuff happening pretty early on. We've got just so many more matchups than we had before, so I'm interested to see how this all shakes out. All that being said, before we delve too deep, let's clear out this intro, shall we? Be sure, guys, to follow us on Twitter at FNN_podcast. That's where you'll find all of the wonderful Nick Madness polls as well. And on Facebook, facebook.com/FNN podcast. Check out our new YouTube page where we're uploading the podcast as well. And review us on Apple Podcasts so that others can find the podcast and, fall in love with us like all of you have.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to my hashtag Friday Night Nick Loons. Thank you, Cam, for indulging me last week. I asked you guys what our ridiculous YouTube, nation hashtag should be. I adore it, and I think we're going to actually make it happen.
Here's the thing. I was adamant. I was like, I do not want us to turn in to this trash. And then I saw Friday Night Nick Loons, and I was like, gosh dang it, Cam. What you've done, I love it. I do. I can't help it.
And it's
beautiful.
How I feel about you crazy kids. So so I think it fits. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hashtag Friday Night Nick Loons. Now let's get started.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood. Hollywood.
Alright guys, so first things first, I'm going to break down the selection process. I am really proud of you all, though, because I have not seen a single complaint yet. We've gotten about 15 brackets submitted so far, and no one has complained about who was on the tournament and who wasn't. So props to you guys. I thought for sure there would be some angry fans. Obviously, we had to leave out some great characters. 64 sounds like a ton, but it's really not when you consider it turns into like, what was the math we did? It's like 3 characters per show, roughly, and we deviated a little.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so first we picked, Ashley and I just went show by show and picked 3 or 4 characters we like. For some shows there's fewer, like Doug only has 2, just Doug and Patty. Whereas some have, like, I think SpongeBob has 5, I think Avatar has 5. We are including Avatar, that's an important distinction from this year and last, because, I don't know, for characters, they're just so well written and so strong that we couldn't not, so... Yeah, the seeding process, I just sort of did it. I started by saying, okay, top 8 or top half, bottom half, and then from there I would go top half of that, bottom half of that, and I kept doing that until we had 16 seeds.
Yeah, keep in mind too, if your favorite character of all time is one of the lower seeds, we're not saying that they're a worse character. It was sort of decided of what do we roughly feel makes sense, right? Like, some of these characters are more obscure, maybe from older Nicktoons versus, the ones from SpongeBob and whatever. We absolutely expect upsets. I'm sure they will happen, so it's not like we're saying that that's, how it's going to go down. I just want to make sure nobody's like, why do you consider so-and-so as such and such seed? Not that we've seen any of that, which, again, thanks for everyone for,
Absolutely.
taking it like you do.
On the topic of upsets, my first... big hot take of this whole thing. I predict there will be at least 2 utterly baffling upsets in round 1. I don't know who they're going to be, but I think they're going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking through these. Some of them, and I don't want to, like, literally, again, we're not going to go through and be like, I think so-and-so is going to win in this one, and so-and-so is going to win. I think there are some that there's just no way it can go another way. Some of them I just think, like, I would just be stunned, like, unbelievably stunned. But then there's some that I'm kind of torn, honestly.
Absolutely. So you're saying Oblina is gonna obliterate SpongeBob, right?
I would die. There are some that I could be, like, surprised but live with.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I would do if SpongeBob was out round 1, given that it was... And I don't even necessarily... I'm not going to say that SpongeBob will be the champ, but it was the champion show in last year's Nick Madness, right? So you got to imagine it's going to make it at least 1 round in, right? Like, that's... Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that takes us to, I think I've got a docket of discussion kind of topics here, and one of them is the number 1 seed. So why don't we start talking about those right now? And I mostly picked these, Ashley, so feel free to disagree with me, but I think they are 4 very strong characters.
Yeah, I mean, like I just said there, SpongeBob, it's an obvious number 1 seed. I cannot see it getting out in round 1. I would die. Like, that, it's an iconic show, it's an iconic character. Moving on over to the left side, Tommy Pickles. Again, I can't imagine a world where Tommy loses out. He's arguably my favorite character of Rugrats. Definitely just a huge name. Rugrats was a huge show, ran for however many years, right? Like, I would just be stunned.
Yeah, Tommy's iconic. I am kind of bummed in hindsight that I put him up against Ralph Big Head, and because we love him, but I wanted him on there, but I couldn't justify him being higher than a 16 seed. He's too obscure.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he deserves a spot just because of our love of him. But I do go back and I say, before this podcast, if you asked me, like, who do you think is a better character, Tommy Pickles or Ralph Big Head, I would have been like, who the heck is Ralph Big Head, right? Like, just... realistically, if you haven't delved into the shows as much as we did, and I'm sure we're going to get a decent amount of general population votes, and so, yeah. It's a bummer, but hey, he got in the bracket at all, and so, I think that's fair enough for his recognition there.
Totally.
Prince Zuko.
How do you feel about Prince Zuko? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to get ahead of myself here and say I hope he wins. I don't know if that's influencing anything. Like, I think he's the best Nicktoon character. I'm not saying I'm going to put him as my prediction, but I'll be voting for Prince Zuko over every character in this bracket.
And I completely agree. I think Prince Zuko is just, God, well, which this is kind of goes back to us putting these Avatar characters in there in the first place, right? It's so difficult to argue that other characters are better against them. It is still a little bit difficult to put them against one another, but I thought it was more fair than the show. He's such a beautiful character arc, right? And I don't want to spoil anything. So if you haven't seen the show, I mean, I know it's like ages old, but I do think it's something that you should experience on your own. So I don't want to get into too many details, but his arc is just phenomenally well written, and it's just so good. Prince Zuko is such a good character.
It's just fun to be talking about these characters because we haven't gotten a chance to in over a year since we did the the Ember Island Players episode.
And honestly, Casey, I know we've thrown around Hey Arnold. I think if I were going to do a spin-off, I'm not saying we will, but if I ever were to, I'd want it to be Avatar. I just think...
Oh, that's such a good idea. So let's start next week. It can last us about a year. And yeah, it'll be called Appa Yip Yip. And... or Podcast Yip Yip. Man, I'll work on it.
He'll get there, guys. But anyways, it's such a good show, and I don't want to get into this being the Ashli talking about Avatar way too much moment, but
it will. Yeah, this whole Nick Madness will, and that's great.
But against the Almighty Tallest, again, I think Zim's got a lot of fans. I think that which I thought that last year though, and it wasn't quite as strong as we were expecting it to be. So
yeah, did it even win a round?
I don't remember anymore. I'd have to pull up the ending, which is buried deep within. It might have won one. It definitely didn't get as far as I thought it would, though.
Well, I know it lost to Jimmy Neutron, and I think it might have been in the first round.
It honestly might have been.
I had Zim winning. Remember? Because I never had Jimmy Neutron even winning a single game.
Oh, right. You're right. I think that's true. But regardless, I don't know. I guess I think it's one of those loud minority situations where the fans that love it are very vocal about it. There's nothing wrong with that, but that there's I think also just we underestimated a little bit, though, the strength of the Jimmy Neutron fan base, right?
Well, and how much of the Jimmy Neutron fan base listens to our podcast, which is something I didn't really get for the first year of podcasting, but there's a following there, which is interesting because we barely cover Jimmy Neutron anymore, at least.
But it's so I think I'll agree with that one. Again, Prince Zuko I think is a phenomenal character, and watch the show if you haven't. Maybe watch it along with us someday, but I'm making no promises now.
And now you mentioned the Hey Arnold potential spinoff. How do you feel about Arnold as our last number one?
Oh yeah. I think especially given the hype of the Jungle movie coming out, I think he's kind of in more of a spotlight than usual. And I mean, us as who we are, we've always put Hey Arnold at such a solid spot, right? So I think that, and I mean, against Mr. Blick, right? Mr. Blick's kind of Cat Scratch is a sadly underlived series there, but
yeah,
I think Arnold is such a great protagonist. I think he has these moments of weakness that are great to see. I think he's just got a lot of great things going for him. Overall, I completely agree with the number one seeds. I guess is what this comes down to. I could see arguments for a couple of different characters being thrown in there instead, but most of those are 2 seeds, so close enough.
Right. Now, do you think I overrated Ginger as number 2?
See, that's another one that I struggle with. I love As Told by Ginger, but I don't necessarily know that the rest of the general population loves As Told by Ginger as much as we do.
Right. I still think Ginger is an iconic Nickelodeon character. Like, she was on the merch. Is. It was her and Eliza, I think because they were just scrounging for women characters to be like, it's not all boys,
Yeah. And Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, we do have the spin-off, and we do have people constantly, posting up in the forums and stuff. Like, there are people who are
And they're gonna vote.
very much involved in the show, right? So I don't want to speak too soon on that. I will say in general, I think we hype as told by Ginger more than random people do, but I think Ginger will make it at least a few rounds in. We'll have to see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all fair. In terms of, do you think there are any, like, look at each conference, and do you think there are any non-1 seeds that are really gonna give a strong case for the Final Four? Like, for instance, I think Helga Pataki will have a great chance against anyone else for that king or queen, I suppose, of that conference.
Let me look through.
There's also the meme ones, we've got Nigel
I could see
and
that.
Carl.
I was gonna say Nigel's in there too. Man, it's tough to say. It really is. I mean, look, when we've got Carl and Judy beating out Jimmy and Cindy, there's obviously something to that. And I know that that's obviously a little bit more jokey than usual, but still,
Right.
that's Carl getting some more attention than
Right. And Carl's in
bigger
a
names.
different conference. I just meant like the meme. The
Yeah,
meme
no,
ones
I know
might
what you
have
mean.
some pull. And like Danny Phantom, we found has a big audience. It barely lost to Fairly Odd Parents last year. Wasn't it by 1 vote?
Yeah, it was nuts. Danny Phantom, I think he might actually be a strong contender in there too because of that.
And Azula. Honestly, Azula is a Final Four candidate.
Yeah,
Even
I'd
though
agree.
she's a 5 seed. She's an incredible character. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how far she'll get. It's tough, and Lois is great. This conference is going to be a bloodbath, I think.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm just throwing. I would be surprised if Lois makes it to the very end. I love her, but again, I think it's one of those things that unless you've watched the show more recently or you watched it a lot back in the day, she might not be the most memorable person overall. I mean, again, and that's not me trying to, and this is going to happen all over the place. Me saying I don't think a character will make it far is not me saying I think it's not a good character. A lot of this is based on popularity,
You might
right?
vote for that character. It's just a
Right,
matter of
and-
what you think other people will do. And frankly, I don't see Lois beating Azula, assuming no upsets, up to that point. Like, if they both win their games, I think Azula wins that game. I don't know.
What was I going to say? Oh, and I just want to make a general promise out there. Me and Casey agreed to this last year. We're going to agree to it this year. Even if it's a tight game, even if my bracket has somebody winning over whoever, I am voting for who I think is the better character at, like, any time, right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah, do I want to have better...
Same.
Yes. Like, is it nice
Because
to say,
there are
like,
gonna
look,
be
I predicted
right.
it? Sure. But it's bigger, I think, to say, I'm voting for who I think is the better, stronger character.
Yeah, otherwise it becomes this ridiculous exercise in game theory that's like, well, I'm going to vote for this person so that I'm more likely to get my prediction. And if everyone's doing that, it's about predicting what other people will do, and no one's voting for what they want.
Right. I think, too, generally, we get more votes than we do brackets, which is good, right?
Yes,
we get
true. Yeah, you're right.
a good, 3-4 times as many votes as we do brackets.
Yeah.
Which I think is good, because I think it's good that we have people who are non-biased, right? And it's... To some extent.
I'm expecting about 30 brackets when all is said and done this year, pace-wise. We're recording this on Monday, and we have 15 right now, so hopefully by Friday we'll have a bunch more. I just sent them out to a bunch of family and friends, so... But you're right, we will ultimately have more non-bracket submitters voting than bracket submitters.
Right,
oh,
which I think is for the best.
I want to name the conferences. Can we just do A, B, C, D, going left, left, right, right?
Okay.
Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
like Tommy
Conference
is the A.
We've kind of covered our big boys. Conference B,
which is
Prince
the Zuko
Zuko.
conference. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Patrick's got to be up in there, right?
Yeah, Patrick's got a shot. Now,
For
okay,
sure.
So we've debated Ginger not being the strongest number 2 ever, even though I put her there with a little bit of admitted bias. What's the earliest you think Ginger could feasibly be eliminated? Is it, assuming Patrick gets to that Sweet 16 game, could Ginger lose to Sam or Norbert?
Huh.
Assuming
That's
Ginger beats
tough.
Ickis.
I think Ginger will beat Ickis. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Sam could give Ginger a tough, because there's no girl power thing.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, Sam might actually be a contender.
There's certainly more Danny Phantom fans than As Told by Ginger fans.
I unfortunately think Angry Beavers does not have anywhere near as strong of a following as I wish it did, because I love it. But again, going back to that, if I were voting between Norb and Ginger, I think I might have to give it. No, that would be tough, actually. I don't know.
It would be really tough. Jeez.
Now that I'm thinking on that, yeah, it wouldn't be tough for me. So it's tough for me, a Beavers lover, which makes me think that maybe I don't know. I don't know which of those is less. Well, I think we overhype them.
Because I would vote for Daggett over Timmy. I think on Conference D.
Oh, but there's no way, right?
It won't happen, of course not. But I don't know how much people actually like Timmy Turner.
I don't know that they like him, but I think that. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I did that. But yeah, Ginger could very much lose to Patrick Starr. I would say it's almost likely.
Again, going back to this, I think, and I could be totally wrong, I think that there is a larger population that likes Sheen than you might anticipate. But that's just my thought. I don't think he's going to make it all the way, but we have a lot of Jimmy Neutron fans in general, right? And I think Sheen might be more well-liked than anticipated.
I would count that as a shocking upset if Sheen beat Timmy's dad. It's not like jaw-dropping, but it would be shocking.
I don't know. I feel like it's fairly likely. I don't think he would beat Patrick, but that's just my hot take, guys.
Now, what if Angelica faces Hugh Neutron? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I still think Angelica, though. I think that's just me. I don't know. That would be tight, though. Yeah.
I think Otto versus Katara might be a very close one too, or Katara could blow Otto out of the water.
In general, I'm interested to see how the Avatar fan base votes. We haven't really had anything including them, right? So this is the first time we're going to see Avatar, and not again. It's not like I'm literally and all of these we're asking show versus show, right? But I'm interested to see how they show up, how they feel in these polls. How many of you guys are also Avatar fans? I think most people who like Nicktoons would also like Avatar, but they're also distinct. So I'm interested to see how that all plays out.
As am I. This conference is another one to watch. It'll be tight.
All right, let's move up on to Conference C. That's the one starting with SpongeBob. Let's see. Characters I think could beat out SpongeBob is basically what we're getting to, right?
Yeah, I mean, Aang could.
Aang could. I could see it. Again, that's the entirety of the Avatar base. I am very interested to see. It could go so many numbers of ways.
Yeah.
I don't really know that anybody else on there could, but that's just...
I don't see anyone else beating SpongeBob. I think SpongeBob might face Chucky. I think Chucky beats Eliza, assuming no radical upsets, which I've already said. I think there will be many. But I think SpongeBob beats Carl. I think SpongeBob beats Chucky. And that would then put SpongeBob in the Sweet 16 against maybe Aang, maybe Grandpa Phil. And those would be tough. I don't see Grandpa Phil beating him, though.
No, I don't see that one. I think the individual battles I think will be interesting, but I think I can't see not SpongeBob being in that Final Four position.
Yeah. I adore SpongeBob, but even personally, I just hope he doesn't win.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And I don't even necessarily know that I think SpongeBob is, I don't think SpongeBob as a show that I love because of its great character building, right? It's
because the writing,
it's jokes and the writing, world. But I would still just be surprised to see him fall against any of those. I just would.
Yeah.
Which, who knows? We've seen some shocking things in our day. But I would also like a non-SpongeBob victor just to switch things up. I agree on that.
But I will admit, he probably belongs in the Final Four. But so does Aang. So that, if it ends up being SpongeBob versus Aang, that's going to be an intense round of voting.
Yeah, and I am. Again, I still am very interested to see how the Avatar fan base ends up voting with these things. It could go so many ways. It just could.
Yeah.
All right.
Conference
Clear it
D.
on out to Conference D.
This one's a toss-up.
I was gonna say this one. I think Timmy might be up there.
Jimmy
Jimmy
too.
Neutron also totally in there.
Oh, I accidentally recreated all the stress of last year's Nick Madness in this one conference, didn't I? Arnold will probably face Jimmy or Timmy, you know?
Yeah, and I could see him losing to either, honestly.
What
Again,
if
not
Arnold could lose to Zim? Arnold could maybe lose to Squidward, but that would be kind of ridiculous.
maybe. Yeah. Oh god, it's hard to say, you guys. This conference, I think D might be the hardest to predict the final four member for.
Yeah. Or even next week. I don't really know. Like, Tito could beat Zim. That's not impossible.
Yeah, I don't. Oh man, there's a lot of tough stuff going on. Heifer, I think, is gonna be out. I would be shocked if
Yeah.
he's not. That's the
I
only
think-
one that I think I can say very
think-
firmly.
Yeah. Cosmo beats Stimpy. Oh, we didn't talk about Carl versus Vicky for this coming week.
Oh,
In
I
Conference
actually
C,
think that
'cause
one's gonna be.
That's tight. Yeah.
I think that one's gonna be tight. I think those are both big sort of side characters there. I think they both have a lot of love going for them. Vicky's got her own theme song, but Carl's got the memes. I could totally see that one going either way. I don't know. What was I gonna say? I had a quick thought. Oh, I do want to acknowledge that Korra is also in there.
Yeah.
From Legend of Korra. We've been talking about Avatar so much that I just want to make sure that we acknowledge that she is in here as well. Obviously a separate show, same universe as Avatar. That one's another tough one for me. I don't know how strong the Korra fan base is.
Yeah. Korra's a better written character than Stu Pickles. Korra should win, in my opinion, but I don't know
absolutely.
if she will.
That's again, most of these things are not necessarily who do I think is the better written character, which is who I will vote for. But I'm interested to see that one too. I think she's an amazing character. I think she's got a lot of great things going for her, but I just don't know.
And Korra, I believe, is the only character on here whose show we have never discussed on our podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Which I think it's just so tough to link that one in. You know, maybe in a world where we do the spin-off with Avatar and we're loving it so much, we do a spin-off of the spin-off and do Korra, but
So we're set for 2 years now, and then are you good for Hey Arnold after that? That gets us into 2021. It's not like 2 months ago we were close to canceling this one.
Hey now. We've been solid this year though. I want to give us some quick props for that.
We have not missed an episode.
So good. Yeah, this is that's about my main thoughts. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? I feel like we've kind of talked over a lot of the show-based things along with it.
So who do you think are the 2 or 3 characters that you think have the best chance of winning it all?
All right. I think, though I don't necessarily want it to be, I think SpongeBob's got to be in your thoughts as top champion, right? Just gotta be.
SpongeBob has a probably the strongest chance to win the whole thing, given last year and given our fan base.
I think Jimmy Neutron might actually be pretty high up there.
Could you imagine if Jimmy... Oh, man.
Just given the strength in fan base we've seen, the strength in the voting in that last poll based on Jimmy Neutron, I could just see it happening.
I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be that mad.
I'm just saying I could see it. I could see it.
Zuko's got a shot, I think. And like you said, it all
Zuko's
depends
got a shot.
on Avatar.
I think if the Avatar fan base is strong, I think Zuko would be among the favored to win. It
really feels like we're predicting an election. We're like, well, if this voting block turns out, then that gives just enough percentage points to this candidate.
Yeah, it really depends on the demographics of the voters. You know, it's oh man.
Yeah, so will the Avatar block show up at the polls or not? I don't know. They have to come. That's not up to us.
I mean, given that too, part of me wonders if we just did a. Like if we just took the characters of Avatar bracket, do I think Prince Zuko would win?
They'd be close.
Think he should, but I think that would be tight in itself, right?
Yeah.
So anyways.
Aang might... People like Sokka. I won't spoil, but in prediction brackets, Sokka has been making it pretty far in some of them.
Yeah, he's not my favorite. I don't dislike Sokka, but like I just think there's so many stronger characters happening there that
Yeah.
I personally can't in good faith say I think Sokka should,
Right.
make it crazy far,
No.
but I think he does have a strong love and a strong following there too.
This, I don't know. I don't know if I want to bring this in, but are there any female characters you could see winning the whole thing? Maybe Helga.
Maybe Azula. I say that cautiously.
That'd be pretty awesome if a 5 seed won the whole thing.
Truthfully, I just think on average the bigger shows with the bigger names and the bigger characters are male main characters.
Yeah. Yeah, we know that historically Nickelodeon is favored
Right.
not only male protagonists, but male characters and male stories in general. Not that there aren't great counterexamples, but they are counterexamples.
Yes, and it's and I think if I were deciding, my favorites, I think Azula would make it pretty far. I think Ginger obviously has got to make it a good ways in. But I don't really know. I wouldn't be upset to be proven wrong, but I personally would be surprised to see a female champ. Like, very surprised.
Yeah, me too. Here's a potential theory for our process. Should we include the seed in the Twitter poll or not?
I think no.
I think so
I
too.
think we-
Because people can look it up if they want to, but I don't want to color people's opinions of these characters,
Agreed. I think
It's
it should
not
just
like
be...
they played basketball seasons like in the March Madness tournament,
Yeah.
Nothing they did earned them a spot here. I just kind of picked.
And I think maybe for some of them, I'm looking... We might need to put shows in brackets or parentheses on a couple of
Yeah.
these just to make sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how many
especially the cat
characters we've got.
scratch
We'll
guys.
do the best that we can, yeah. Or I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any of these where it's the case that there's two characters with the same name. But just to be sure the people are thinking of the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my main thoughts though. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see our discussion towards the end of next week. I think it's going to be nuts. I'm so pumped, guys. Get your brackets in, and if you don't make the bracket cutoff, still cast your votes. Every vote counts. We saw a lot of winners by 1 or 2 votes last year. So, yeah. Anything else you want to throw in there?
No, it's just nuts. This is the most we'll ever have in a day. It'll be 16 games per day, 8 in each conference, 2 conferences a day for that first round. So there's going to be a lot of polls, guys. So you'll want to make sure that you go and vote in every single one.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking too. Is turnout might be lower when there's so many of them. I definitely think the later matches will have the higher numbers, but I'm interested to see how it all plays out. So get excited. Get your brackets together. It's going to be big.
And retweet the polls you're especially excited about, because then you'll get more votes and more excitement about the ones you're excited about.
Absolutely.
All right, well, shall we move on to our conclusion?
Sounds good to me. Alright, so usually this is where we would throw our Twitter poll on in there, but given that we have a ton of Twitter polls coming up, we're not going to have any until Monday when we start the actual voting for Nick Madness. So again, Twitter polls will be there. We will have mountains and mountains of them. We figured let's hold off on adding another one to your guys' feed for today.
Yeah, absolutely. We were torn on this, but I think it's the right move. And next week, we will have the results of round 1. So as soon as those results are in, we're going to record a quick episode. And so we'll, evaluate the results of the first round. And then we'll evaluate the remaining 32 characters that are left and see if any of our sort of general thoughts from today have changed based on the results.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see this first round. I'm sure we'll see at least a couple of upsets, and it'll be a lot of fun. Again, be sure to find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, and just a one last quick note, we will have a prize for the winner of the prediction brackets, so if you need a little bit more incentive to get your bracket in, we don't know what it is yet, but we will be sending a prize out to you, so just think about it. You know, if you're on the fence about whether or not you want to go through the effort, just think about the Nicktoons swag you could be getting.
Yep, and I think we should up our prize game this year for the winner. I don't know what that'll be, but we'll come up with something cool. Not necessarily more expensive, but something worth it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.